Episode 3, Adopt a Practical Audio-Only Study Plan, we focus on building a sustainable approach to preparation that relies primarily on your ears, your voice, and consistent repetition, rather than long hours glued to a screen. Many busy professionals prepare for this certification while commuting, exercising, or managing demanding schedules, so an audio-optimized strategy becomes not just convenient, but essential. The promise here is simple. You can create a rhythm that fits your life, improves retention, and reduces the friction that often derails study intentions. By shaping a plan that leans heavily on listening, speaking, and short cycles of reinforcement, you turn spare moments into productive study opportunities without feeling overwhelmed or guilty about missed reading time. A strong audio-only plan starts with a weekly cadence that balances new learning, recall, and spaced review in predictable intervals. A mistake many learners make is consuming long stretches of new material without revisiting earlier domains until they have faded. Instead, a well-designed cadence assigns certain days to fresh material and certain days to deliberate recall, with spaced touches on older content mixed in. This rhythm prevents both fatigue from constant novelty and stagnation from repeated review of the same familiar topics. When the week has an identifiable pattern, your mind begins to anticipate what kind of effort is expected each day, which greatly improves consistency. Daily execution becomes much easier when you define study blocks, break lengths, and consistent start cues that set the tone for each session. A study block might be as short as 15 minutes of focused listening, followed by a brief walk or stretch before your next commitment. What matters more than length is the presence of a clear beginning ritual, such as pressing play on a specific playlist, reviewing a short definition aloud, or even taking one grounding breath before you start listening. These cues signal your brain that it is time to enter learning mode, which helps reduce the startup cost that often leads to procrastination. Over time, the routine becomes automatic, and the friction of beginning each session fades. One of the most effective ways to make audio-only study powerful is to convert exam objectives into bite-sized prompts that you can rehearse anywhere. Each blueprint line can be turned into a simple question, such as, "What is the purpose of integrating security into requirements?" Or, "How does threat modeling influence design trade-offs?" These prompts are short enough to fit into a commute or chore, but deep enough to trigger meaningful retrieval. You can keep them on your phone, recorded in your own voice, or stored as short clips you replay when you have a few free minutes. With repetition, they become the backbone of your mobile study toolkit. Active recall strengthens this toolkit even further because you answer out loud without reading ahead or checking notes first. Listening to a prompt and then speaking your best answer forces your mind to retrieve knowledge instead of relying on recognition. Even imperfect answers help strengthen memory because the act of reconstructing ideas builds deeper connections than simply hearing information again. Over time, these out-loud responses become more structured, clearer, and closer to the level of reasoning you will need on exam day. The confidence that grows from answering without prompts becomes one of your strongest assets when facing multiple-choice scenarios. To reinforce recall even more effectively, you can interleave domains instead of reviewing one area exhaustively before moving on. Interleaving means mixing topics from different domains within the same session, so your mind must compare, discriminate, and shift perspective. This prevents what psychologists call contextual illusions, where material feels familiar only because you studied it in a predictable sequence. By encountering items from multiple domains in a shuffled order, you train yourself to recognize subtle distinctions and retrieve knowledge under conditions closer to the real exam. This mixing may feel harder at first, but it produces far more durable learning. Because audio study depends heavily on mental connections, building memory hooks using stories, contrasts and everyday analogies can make even abstract ideas stick. A story about a flawed software launch serves as a hook for secure design principles, while a contrast between two risk treatment choices anchors your understanding of governance. Everyday analogies, used sparingly and thoughtfully, help form bridges between complex concepts and familiar experiences. These hooks are not decorations. They provide a structure your memory can grip, especially when retrieving concepts under pressure. As weeks pass, audio learning becomes even more effective when you schedule cumulative quick reviews that refresh older material efficiently. These reviews might be 5-minute loops of earlier prompts, or short recordings summarizing domains you covered earlier in the month. The goal is not to relearn everything, but to keep dormant knowledge active enough for rapid retrieval later. Cumulative reviews prevent the cycle of learning, forgetting, and relearning that slows many candidates down, and they fit seamlessly into an audio-first routine. Tracking progress does not require complex tools. Simple check marks and brief after-action reflections are often enough. At the end of a study block, you might make a quick note such as strong recall on design tasks or uncertain on governance terminology, which guides your next session. These reflections help identify patterns that are invisible in the moment, such as consistently rushing through certain domains or avoiding harder prompts. Over time, your progress journal becomes an honest snapshot of where your understanding is strong and where it needs reinforcement. Because study plans rarely go perfectly, it is essential to handle setbacks with scope reduction instead of abandoning sessions entirely. When a day feels overwhelming, reducing a 30-minute block to 5 minutes of focused recall still counts as progress. This approach protects your momentum, helps maintain your habit loop, and avoids the emotional cost of complete cancellations. Small reps matter enormously in audio-based study because they keep neural pathways active and maintain confidence even during difficult weeks. Accountability strengthens these habits further when you use calendar holds and pre-commitment messages to anchor your intentions. A simple, recurring time block on your calendar, even if it moves occasionally, signals that study is a protected activity. Adding a brief pre-commitment message to yourself, perhaps written the night before, reinforces the promise and helps keep the routine intact during busy periods. These tools provide guardrails when motivation fluctuates, and they reduce the cognitive load of deciding when to study each day. As the exam approaches, you can pre-wire a taper week that focuses on shorter sessions, heavier recall, and lighter intake. During this time, you avoid learning major new material and instead concentrate on strengthening retrieval of what you already know. Short, focused audio reviews help stabilize confidence, while avoiding long, exhaustive sessions prevents burnout. By the end of taper week, your mind is sharper, calmer, and oriented toward performance rather than consumption. A brief mini-review ties all of these pieces together: cadence established, interleaving active, recall strengthened, tracking ongoing, tapering prepared, and accountability aligned. Speaking these themes aloud helps reinforce their relationships and clarifies how your audio-only system now functions as a cohesive structure. The mini-review also provides a moment to acknowledge how far you have come, which boosts motivation heading into the remaining weeks. The conclusion for Episode 3 is simple. Lock your weekly template and commit to one immediate next action. That action is to schedule your first study block, even if short, and begin using the prompts, cues, and routines described here. With that small step, your audio-only plan moves from theory into motion, and every minute you invest will compound into stronger retention and steadier confidence as the exam approaches. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit DailyCyber.News.